Hello. I hope everyone's well and that life is treating you well. I just doing a quick update here. I'm a big fan of Dan Carlin's hardcore history. Never has history been delivered quite so breathlessly as it is by Dan Carlin. Each episode is like an audiobook in length, so it's certainly an investment of time to listen. But he recently came out with an episode about the rise of Persia, and he starts with a few things that most people have probably heard of, like Persians and Spartans fighting at Thermopylae. And then moves into explaining where the Persians came from, who they were before they became the Persians, and the rise of Cyrus the Great, I guess is his name. And it's a good listen. It's a good listen. Gave me a lot of ideas for games. Forgive me if I look a little rough around the edges. I feel a little rough around the edges. Anyways, one of the notions was he was talking about a historian writing a couple of centuries after the fall of an ancient culture, talking about the city of Nineveh and how it was, had these huge, massive walls, and the people who lived in the town didn't really, in the shadow of these walls, didn't really understand anything about the people who built them. It was sort of living in the shadow of a great civilization. That was a great image. I think that there's a game there, to a certain extent, they have this in Eberron with the continent of Zendrik, where they have the ruins of the giants, and people basically built little colonies inside the ruins of giants. It's a bit like that, but much more grounded, I guess. It was an interesting idea, an interesting image of a city built on a scale that the people who live in it currently don't have a conception of how it was even done or who did it. But they recognize that it was a great culture, obviously, because they built this thing. I thought that was a neat distinction. Another thing that it gave me an idea for was actually maybe a party game that you could call Herodotus. Herodotus was a historian, a Greek historian, and is considered the father of history. He's also considered in some circles, the father of lies. And Dan Carlin references him a lot in this episode because he's one of the few people of the correct time period, writing about it with any kind of detail or flair for the dramatic. And so he talks about Herodotus, and it occurred to me that a good getting would be to have written out on cards dry historical facts about something, some obscure incident or what have you. Because history's big, and lots of it we've just never heard of. Most folks never hear of, some of the battles related to the Reformation, or the Battle of the Eclipse that he talks about in the Hardcore History episode, where there was a battle between, I think, Assyrians and Lydians, and an eclipse happened, and everybody went, right, that's not a good sign. Let's stop fighting. So you've got that going on there. And you have these historical incidents that most people never have heard of, but are interesting. What you do is you give the raw facts on a card, just super dry version of the facts, and you hand those out. And then everybody draws a card, and one of the cards will be tell a lie. And then everybody tells a story based on the dry facts. They make it as interesting and elaborate as possible. And at the end of everybody telling their story, people vote on which story sounded the best first. And then, after you do that, everybody does a round of betting who the liar was. And you get a point for having the best story and a point for being the liar and not being picked out. So you told a lie that nobody caught you in. And you get double points if you're the best story and it was a lie. It was an idea. Anyway, I'm done rambling. I will talk to you later. I have more thoughts and things, but I felt like doing a quick update. Subscribe, like, share with all the people, and try and have some fun, but not too much fun.